Leeya. Hey. Little monkey. It's Leeya. Leeya, say hello. Leeya. Leeya. Say hello. What you got here? Ah, such a beautiful girl. G'day everybody, how's it going? Coming at you from the home studio. I've got a little bit of a moody lighting setup going here, but this is part 2 of my video on setting up a fast video editing RAID. And in the first part, I just took you through some of the ideas around the RAID setup that I was going for, why I landed on the Thunderbay 6. And this video, I'm going to take you through the setup of that and then going through the SoftRAID software. So hopefully this gives you some value on the things you need to be thinking about when setting up a RAID system for video editing. And let's jump right into that video. Okay, so first things first, here is I'm going to jump on my computer and make sure I've got a clean backup of the current RAID setup. So I use Ease to do backup, Ease US I think it's called. So I'm going to open that, open Ease to do. I use a synchronization rather than a backup, so it just synchronizes my RAID to my backup drive. So what I've got now is 8TB RAID, which is my editing RAID, the Promise, and I've got my Pendula 8TB backup. So now I'm just going to make sure that that's backed up, hit play. That's going to check all the files, back up anything I've done, and it's been doing that simultaneously anyway, so it should just be a final check. It says it's 100% done, and it says the synchronization was successful. So now I know I've got the whole drive backed up, and I can disconnect the drive, the RAID, and begin to set up the new drive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out of this and now jump over to my Finder. Close any programs that are running currently off the RAID. So I've got a few things probably running. I think I've got Media Encoder here running for some proxies I've just done. So I'll get rid of that. Then I'll check everything else is all good. I'm pretty sure everything else is all good. So now I'm going to try and disconnect my RAID. Bye-bye, Promise. Out with the old, in with the new. So let's click this. And it's disconnected. So now I think I can pull the drive out and start the process. So let me just show you that. So this is the Thunderbolt 3 to Thunderbolt 2 cable for the drive. And I'm checked on here that it is no longer connected. So I'll just double check that. The Pendula RAID is no longer connected. And because I'm going to destroy this anyway in 1 second, but I'll pop it out of there. So now, as you can see, she's gone down, and I'm going to then turn this off by holding down. You've served me well. You've served me well. Thank you for all your hard work. Goodbye. All right, so now I'm going to pop the drives out, and I'll pop the camera on the tripod so you can get a better picture of what I'm doing. So now I just unplug the Thunderbolt cable, and if you can hear any screaming in the background, that's my son. He's obviously cracking it about something. Now unplug the power cable as well. All right, so now I'm going to start to remove the drives. So this is one of the drives. There's Seagate Barracuda, the ST2000DM006 drives. So those two come out, and then this is an old Toshiba that will actually get relegated now. That one was one of the drives that was going offline a little bit. So this will actually now get relegated back to a backup. I won't be using that again. And then the last drive is a Seagate 2TB ST2000DM008. So this drive is the drive that I'll be using. This one and the other Seagates in the new setup, because that's the newest drive. And I've got these new drives as well to go with it. So these are the Seagates Yeah, the DM008. So there's 7200 RPM 2TB drives. So that's the ones that are going to be going in the new RAID. So there it is, all the drive bays. Just going to open up this. And that's the new caddy for the new drives. All the drives for the Thunderbay. Just remove these. Yep. So I got one out and just add it into here. I'm pretty sure it goes that way. So I'll pop that back in now. Back in the old one. And this one, get the hardware for this. Bunch of bolts here. Some new screws. All right, there's one ready to go. So slide her in. Now I know this is the first bay and this is an older drive. So I know if there is any problems with it that I can replace it. I think you just push it and there's a nice positive feel when it locks in and then just tighten it up. That's it. So I know that drive A is the original, one of the original drives, and I'll do the same for the next drive as well, which will be one of the original Seagates. I think I had the dates on these were 28th of May and 28th of June for this one. So I'll put this one in place, I think. Yeah, and these are the old style as well. So I was planning to get five of the new style of the 2TB, but unfortunately the shop only had 4 of those. So I'm just going to run with one of these old ones for now, and I'm happy with that. That's fine. Alright, last but not least is this 6th drive going into the bay. Alright, so everything now is set up in the RAID. I'm going to jump on the computer and I'm going to show you how I'm going to set up the software. The software is called SoftRAID, so I'll basically jump on the computer, show you how I'm going to set that up, and yeah, let's do it. Hopefully this thing fires up and all the drives are good. And yeah, obviously drive 1 and drive 2, I'm probably going to end up replacing those. If I set up in RAID 5, I can do that. So let's jump on the computer, and if you've watched this far, cool. Let's see if this thing fires up and if I can get it working in SoftRAID with the software. So I'm going to go and try and download the latest version of SoftRAID. Download SoftRAID. Open the disk image. Check applications. did, and maybe that's it. SoftRAID will access files and volume, okay. Okay, so we're up and running. So now I'm going to fire up the OWC drive. See what happens. So it's not reading anything at the moment. As you can see, my Mac is having a problem. Right, let's initialize these drives. Right, disk utility. Here we go. So I've already got the Aura in there. You can see it's the OWC Aura P12, and that one there is 960.2 gigabytes. So I'm going to go erase, and I'm going to call this scratch 1 to be scratch. Mac OS extended journaled, and it's going to be the GUID partition map. Click erase, and it's asking me if I want to use it as the time machine, and I want to don't use. So that's done, so that's ready to go. And then all these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I'm just going to initialize those drives. Let's go back to SoftRAID really quick and check what's happening with that. I'm going to register that later. So SoftRAID then should pick up my hasn't picked up. Let me close SoftRAID. Quit, and I'll reopen it. Double disk utility application currently running. Please quit disk utility before continuing to SoftRAID. Okay. So good, it's picked up the scratch, but I'll quit the SoftRAID software. Initialize these disks. So I'm going to go. Okay, so not sure what drives are what here, so I'm actually going to open this up and try and identify which drive is which here. So what I'm going to do is right, so now fire it back up. Back to disk utility. So the scratch has come back online straight away, which is excellent. And it's got this first drive, which is the 006. So now I'm going to erase that drive. I'm going to call that, let me call it ST 2000DM 006 dash RAID A. RAID A, I'm going to call that. So Mac OS extended and GUID partition map, and hit erase. Format that drive. And I don't want to use it as that, so we're done. So now that is up in my drives as the RAID. Then I'm going to go through that process with every drive to get them all online. So I'm going to then disconnect the two, turn off the unit, undo this one, do up this one, Well, actually now I can probably keep that plugged in because I know that one's going to be already initialized. So I'm just going to go through the process of doing that, bring each of the drives online in order, and then I know what I'm dealing with. So as far as the drives go, so 1 terabyte's come up straight away. We should see the first drive come up. It says it was not readable, so that's the actual second drive, which is right. So I'm going to initialize. For some reason it doesn't pop up here, so now I know that this one, M008, is the one that I want to initialize. So I'm going to go through the process of that. Call it ST2000 DM008 RAID B and erase that one. It's going to ask me again to use the time machine. I don't want to use it, so that's it, and I'm done with that. And then that should pop up as RAID B. So again, I'm not just going to plug these in because this has all got power to it, so I'm actually going to turn the unit off each time. So I'm going to disconnect each drive each time. I don't know if I need to do that, but I'm just going to make sure that I do everything by the book here. Turn the unit off, plug in the next one, tighten that up, turn the unit on. Oh, I can't wait to get this thing running. Come on. So that should fire up my scratch and then the other 2 drives as well. And it's brought up RAID A and RAID B, so that's great. I'm going to ignore that, jump back into disk utility. And again, I've got this next drive, which I know is drive C. So I'm going to erase and call that ST2000DM008 RAID C. OS Mac external journaled and GUID petition. Erase. So it's mounting, don't use it for that. Done. So it's mounted there, so I've got A, B and C all ready to go. Next one in, so again, disconnect all of these, disconnect the scratch, eject the RAID C, RAID A, RAID B. Now I'm ejecting them from disk utility, but that's okay. Power down the unit, plug in next drive, and we're almost there. That's why I'm doing that. Done. So now all my drives are listed as A, B, C, D, E, F, and so I know which drive's which. Cool. So that's the initialization phase of all the drives. Then I'm going to go into SoftRAID, the software, and open this up. And then it should give me all my drives listed. So they're all there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to Thunderbolt. So it's 1, 2, 3. So this is right about the moment where my camera or audio or something cut out, but I'll continue to take you through the process. This is basically the SoftRAID, and I'm about to click through on all the disks that made up the 6 disks and get the SoftRAID set up within the software. So I'm just going through and checking out which disks are which, and I'm going to go through the process with you to create a new volume within SoftRAID. So there's some challenges here where SoftRAID told me that there was an error. And it required a second initialization. So it needed me to go through the process again with SoftRAID to re-initialize the drives within SoftRAID, which was quite interesting because I thought it did it all through disk utility and then the drives were ready to go, but yeah, turns out that's not the case. So I went through and selected each of the drives,
chose to initialize the drives. It tells you that you're going to destroy the volume by initializing them, and realize that. So I said initialize, put in the password, and it successfully went ahead and initialized all the drives, which was brilliant. And so once that process was done, I could then go ahead and create the RAID. So just right click again and new volume. Now the drives have been initialized with its SoftRAID, so it allows you to set up the RAID. Now I went ahead and set up a RAID 5 because that's what I really wanted to go with. But as you'll see, that I ran into challenges with that in terms of the speed and everything that I needed this drive to do. So anyway, selected the RAID 5 and I'll show you through that process. HFS Plus is what I went with. Loud journaling for the Mac OS system, or Mac usage case for me. I did the volume safeguard because that was something that SoftRAID had recommended, and then the maximum size for those 6 drives in RAID 5 is 10 terabytes. So 2 terabytes becomes redundant because you need that to make the RAID 5. And it fired up and created it quite quickly without any errors, which was great. Then my Mac asked me again if I wanted to use the 10 terabyte as time machine. I said no. And then straight away, I wanted to check if it was there, and it was, which was awesome. And jumped on info, and it showed me all the info on the drive. It showed me that it was a SoftRAID RAID 5. So at this point, I was really keen to do some speed tests. So let's jump straight into those and wrap up this epically long video. My go-to software for doing speed tests such as this is Blackmagic. Blackmagic Disk Speed Test, of course, and it's just asking me now to select the drive that I want to test. So obviously I'm selecting the 10 terabyte RAID, and this is where things got really interesting for me. It was a literal slug. It is not fast enough at all for what I needed. That write speed is just totally unusable for what I need it for. And so at this point, I was really unsure of my purchase. I was a little bit worried about it. It was just super slow. I think the write speed was a single drive write speed. And I've heard that this happens with RAID 5, but I thought the OWC would allow it to be a little bit quicker, but it just wasn't the case. And so it was back to the drawing board.
Well, hopefully you got some value out of that, and thank you for tuning in. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the like button if you like this video. And I've got a motto for my videos, like a call line, or whatever you call it, a call to action. And it's taken me 2 years to get to this point where I'm ready to share that with you. And I might make t-shirts with it on, and hats and merchandise and whatever. But it is this, it is never stop creating. All right, we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.